Feng Yun lay under a thin blanket, her body burning with fever. Her room felt small and stuffy, and the pale morning light through the curtains did little to warm her. She had fainted the night before, and when she opened her eyes, something inside her had changed. Memories of her past life came rushing back. The abuse, the cruel widower who had killed her, the family she had trusted, and the truth she had never known. She had come back from the future, reborn in her own body. She looked around the small room, seeing the simple furniture and the thin curtains, her dilapidated room. She remembered everything, how timid she had been, how fear had ruled her, the mother and sister she had trusted, the marriage she had been forced into, the beatings, and finally, death at the hands of the widower. Now she understood the truth. The woman she called mother was not her real mother, and her sister was part of the family that had trafficked her. Her real family was somewhere else, and they were alive. As the fever continued, she felt something strange inside her mind, like a door opening. She focused, and suddenly she could see it, a secret space in her thoughts. A garden with a clear spring appeared, rooms stacked with books, medicine, herbs, and tools. She could enter the space, use it, and leave whenever she wanted. It felt natural, like it was always a part of her. She got up and walked toward the garden she could see in her mind. The spring water glimmered in front of her. She drank it instinctively. Warmth and energy spread through her tired, bruised body. Her strength returned, and her mind became sharp. I am alive. I am aware. I will survive. I will never be powerless again. Feng Yun sat on her bed and looked at the horizon. She would never let the widower hurt her again. The family that had sold her would learn that she was no longer weak. She would take control of her life, punish the villains with strength, courage, and planning. The fever slowly faded from Feng Yun's body. Her breathing became steady, and strength returned to her limbs. She clenched her fists and felt it clearly. This body was no longer weak. The fear that once filled her heart had disappeared. In its place was calm, cold determination. She entered the space again with a thought. This time, she explored carefully. The villa was clean and quiet. Shelves were filled with medical books, dried herbs, sharp tools, and bottles neatly labeled. There was even a room with an operating table and proper equipment. Feng Yun understood immediately this space was not only for survival, but for learning and fighting back. She spent the day reading. The words in the medical books entered her mind easily, as if she had learned them before. She learned how to treat wounds, stop bleeding, and mix herbs for pain and healing. She practiced on herself, treating old bruises and scars left by years of abuse. Each treatment made her stronger, faster, and clearer in thought. That evening, footsteps approached outside her room. The widower had come. In her past life, fear would have frozen her. But now, Feng Yun stood calmly. Her eyes were cold. When the widower stepped inside, his face twisted with his usual cruel smile. He thought she was still the weak girl, who could not resist. He was wrong. Before he could speak, Feng Yun moved. Her actions were clean and decisive. She used strength, technique, and timing. The struggle was short. The man who had beaten her to death in her past life fell to the ground, never to rise again. Feng Yun stood over him, her chest rising slowly. There was no panic.
No regret.
Only relief. He will never hurt anyone again, she said quietly. She cleaned herself, erased every trace, and returned to her space. The spring water washed away the last of her exhaustion. Sitting beside the stream, Feng Yun closed her eyes. This was only the beginning. Her stepsister. The fake mother. The family that sold her. The traffickers who destroyed lives. She would face them all. But first, she would grow stronger, smarter, and sharper. This life would not be wasted. The next morning, Feng Yun woke early. The house was quiet. Her stepsister was already awake, humming a careless tune, and the woman she had always called mother was bustling in the kitchen. They had no idea what had happened the night before. Feng Yun watched them calmly, her eyes sharp and clear. She was no longer the timid girl who flinched at every harsh word or look. She remembered everything: the beatings, the fear, the betrayal, and most importantly, the knowledge that she had been sold. The family she trusted was not her real family. The woman she had called mother was kind only on the surface, but her heart had never been truly hers. Her stepsister had always been cunning and jealous, plotting behind her back. Feng Yun's chest tightened with quiet anger. Every action she had taken in the past life had been used against her. But now she was in control. After breakfast, Feng Yun returned to her secret space. She walked through the villa, checking every room, every shelf. The herbs smelled strong and fresh. The spring water flowed clearly. She tested small cuts on herself again, watching them heal faster than before. Every day, she would grow stronger, sharper, and smarter. She also started planning. Her stepsister was careless and cruel, but she could not act recklessly. Feng Yun would wait, observe, and strike only when the time was right. She needed to gather information, learn about her enemies, and become untouchable. Later, she quietly helped a small injured bird she found outside. She washed its wounds, applied herbs, and let it drink water from the spring. Its tiny body healed quickly. Feng Yun smiled softly. She would not only protect herself, she would help those who could not protect themselves. The weak must be shielded from the cruel, and the cruel must be punished. That evening, Feng Yun sat in her room, looking at the fading light through the window. Her mind was calm, but alert. She knew this life was her chance to rewrite everything. She would never be sold, beaten, or humiliated again. Every lesson from her past life had prepared her for this moment. The timid, fearful girl was gone. In her place stood a decisive, strong, and unstoppable Feng Yun. And the world around her, the family, the traffickers, the villains, would soon learn not to underestimate her. Days passed quietly. On the surface, Feng Yun behaved the same as before. She spoke little, kept her head down, and followed the rules of the house. Her stepsister laughed loudly, believing Feng Yun was still the useless girl she could step on whenever she wished. The woman Feng Yun once called mother also relaxed, thinking Feng Yun had finally accepted her fate. But everything Feng Yun did now had a purpose. Each night, she entered her space. She read medical books page by page, learning about bones, wounds, poisons, and herbs. Her hands grew steady. Her mind became calm and sharp. She practiced bandaging, mixing herbs, and stopping bleeding. Slowly, medicine stopped being words on a page and became skill in her hands. One afternoon, Feng Yun overheard villagers whispering outside. A child from a nearby village had gone missing. The adults spoke in low voices, afraid to say the word everyone feared: traffickers. Feng Yun's fingers tightened. She remembered the truth of her own past. She knew this path too well. That night, she followed the whispers quietly. Using her space, she hid when danger came close and moved when the path was clear. Near the old storage huts outside the village, she found signs, footprints, ropes, and a faint cry. Her heart stayed calm. Panic would only get people killed. Inside one hut, she found two frightened children, tied and trembling. Feng Yun moved fast. She cut the ropes, covered their mouths gently, and led them into her space. In the safety of the villa, she treated their wounds, fed them, and let them drink spring water. Their fear slowly faded. Before dawn, Feng Yun returned the children to a safe place, leaving no trace of herself. The villagers later said the children were found mysteriously, unharmed. No one knew who saved them. Back in her room, Feng Yun looked at her reflection in the cracked mirror. She saw it clearly now. She was no longer just taking revenge for herself. She was stopping the same evil that had destroyed her life. Her stepsister still laughed. The fake mother still smiled. But Feng Yun knew the net was tightening, and she was the one holding the strings. Feng Yun did not leave the traffickers untouched. After moving the rescued children into her space, she returned silently to the storage huts. Her eyes were cold, her movements controlled. These men had ruined countless lives. Mercy was something they did not deserve. She struck fast and without noise. Bones cracked under precise blows. Arms were twisted until they could no longer hold a weapon. She avoided killing them, not because she was soft, but because she wanted them to face judgment. Blood soaked into the dirt, and cries were swallowed by the night. When she was done, none of the traffickers could stand or run. Feng Yun dragged them, one by one, into her space. There, she treated only enough to keep them alive. Pain was left untouched. Fear was allowed to grow.
Before dawn, she moved again.
Using the quiet roads, she placed the injured traffickers outside the police station in the neighboring town. Their hands were tied. Proof of their crimes, ropes, lists of names, stolen items, were laid clearly beside them. The rescued children were placed a short distance away, wrapped in clean clothes, safe and unharmed. When the morning came, the town exploded with shock. The police were forced to act. The evidence was clear. The children spoke. The traffickers screamed and begged, their broken bodies making escape impossible. Word spread quickly. A trafficking ring had been destroyed overnight. No one knew who did it. Back in her room, Feng Yun cleaned her wounds quietly. During the fight, a blade had grazed her side. Blood had soaked her clothes, but her face remained calm. She entered her space, washed the wound with spring water, and treated it carefully. The pain faded quickly, leaving only a faint scar. Looking at it, Feng Yun smiled faintly. "This is the price of action," she murmured. Outside, her stepsister complained loudly about rumors in the village. The fake mother looked uneasy, glancing around as if danger had suddenly grown closer. They were right to feel afraid, because Feng Yun was no longer just surviving. She was changing the world around her. And once consequences began, they would never stop. The village did not stay quiet for long. Within days, everyone was talking about the traffickers found outside the police station. Some said it was the work of a ghost. Others whispered that a powerful force had moved through the area. Fear spread, and with fear came suspicion. Feng Yun noticed the change immediately. Her stepsister watched her more closely now, her eyes sharp instead of careless. The fake mother began asking strange questions, testing Feng Yun with soft words and sudden commands. They felt it. Something had shifted, even if they did not know what. "You've been going out more," her stepsister said one afternoon, pretending to smile. Feng Yun lowered her eyes. "Just helping villagers," she replied calmly. Inside, she was alert. Weakness invited attack. Silence protected her. That night, Feng Yun heard new sounds outside the village. Heavy boots, low voices, controlled movement. Soldiers. A unit had been stationed nearby to investigate the trafficking case. The air itself felt tighter.
She did not panic.
Instead, she prepared. She checked her herbs, bandages, and medicine inside her space. She sharpened a small blade and wrapped clean cloth. Experience had taught her one truth. Wherever danger appeared, blood soon followed. She was right. Near midnight, Feng Yun sensed something wrong near the forest edge. A faint metallic smell drifted on the wind.
Blood.
Moving quietly, she followed the feeling until she saw him. A man lay against a tree, his uniform torn and soaked red. His breathing was shallow, his face pale, but even injured, his posture was disciplined. A soldier, not a villager, not a criminal. Feng Yun did not hesitate. She checked her surroundings once, then touched his arm.
His pulse was weak.
He had lost too much blood. If she left him here, he would die before dawn. With a thought, she brought him into her space. The villa was silent as she laid him on the operating table. She cleaned the wounds carefully, her hands steady. Bullet injury.
Deep.
Dangerous. She worked quickly, using everything she had learned. Herbs to stop bleeding.
Clean stitching.
Spring water to stabilize him. The man stirred, his brows furrowing. Feng Yun looked at him calmly. "Live," she said softly. "You still have things to do." Outside, the village slept uneasily. Inside her space, fate quietly changed direction. The soldier woke slowly. The first thing he felt was warmth. Not the burning pain he expected, but steady heat spreading through his body. His breathing eased. When he opened his eyes, the white ceiling above him was unfamiliar.
Clean.
Quiet. He moved slightly and stopped. "You shouldn't move," a calm voice said. He turned his head and saw her. A young woman stood beside the table, her sleeves rolled up, hands clean and steady. Her face was pale but composed, her eyes clear and sharp. There was no fear in them, only control. "You lost a lot of blood," Feng Yun said simply. "I treated the wound. If you move too much, it will reopen." The soldier studied her silently. He had been trained to read danger, and this woman felt dangerous in a different way. Not loud, not reckless, controlled. "Where am I?" he asked. "Safe," she replied. "That's all you need to know." He accepted that answer without argument. That alone surprised her. "My name is Lu Chun," he said after a moment. "I'm a soldier. On a mission." "I know," Feng Yun replied, adjusting the bandage. "Your uniform said enough." Lu Chun watched her work. Her movements were precise, practiced, not something a village girl should know. "You have medical training." "I learned what I needed," she said. Silence settled between them, comfortable and strange. Lu Chun felt something shift inside him. He had been surrounded by danger all his life, yet this was the first time he felt truly protected. "Why save me?" he asked quietly. Feng Yun paused for only a second. "Because you are not a bad man," she said. "And because I could." Lu Chen's lips curved slightly. "Then I owe you my life." Feng Yun met his gaze. "No," she said calmly. "You owe the world yours." For the first time in days, Lu Chen relaxed. He closed his eyes, trusting her without knowing why. Feng Yun turned away, unaware that something warm had quietly taken root in her heart. Outside the space, the world waited. Inside, two broken paths had just crossed. Lu Chun recovered faster than he expected. Each time he woke, the pain was less. His strength returned steadily, far quicker than normal for such a serious injury. As a soldier, he knew this was not ordinary healing. His sharp eyes followed Feng Yun whenever she entered the room, quietly observing her calm movements and steady hands. "I should still be weak," he said one morning. "But I feel fine." Feng Yun handed him water. "Then your body is doing its job." Lu Chen smiled faintly. "Or someone helped it do more than its job." She did not answer. During his recovery, they spoke little, but when they did, it mattered. Feng Yun never complained, never explained herself. She listened more than she spoke. Lu Chen noticed the old scars on her hands. Faint but many. Someone had hurt her before.
Badly.
One evening, voices drifted from outside the space. Accusations. Anger. Lu Chen's body tensed at once. "They're looking for you," he said quietly. Feng Yun nodded. "They always are." Lu Chen sat up despite the pain. "You shouldn't stay here. Whoever hurt you won't stop." Feng Yun met his gaze, calm and steady. "I know." Something in her tone unsettled him. Not fear, certainty. "You're not weak," he said slowly. "But you're alone." "For now," she replied. Lu Chen clenched his fist. "Then let me help." Feng Yun was silent for a moment. No one had offered her protection before. Not without conditions. Not without lies. "You're injured," she said. "And you saved my life," Lu Chen answered. "That makes your enemies mine." Her heart stirred, just slightly. That night, Feng Yun prepared medicine while Lu Chen rested nearby. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, she did not feel completely alone. She did not rely on him, but she did not push him away either. Outside, the village grew restless. Inside the space, a bond quietly formed. Not rushed, not loud, but unbreakable. Lu Chen's condition stabilized by the 3rd day. He stood beside the operating table, fully dressed now, his posture straight despite the bandages beneath his uniform. "My unit will notice my absence," he said quietly. "I have to return." Feng Yun nodded. She had known this moment would come. "You shouldn't expose yourself for me," she said calmly. Lu Chen looked at her steadily. I'm not. He paused, then added, but I will come back. She met his gaze. There was no promise spoken, yet both of them understood. Before leaving, Lu Chen pressed a small metal tag into her palm. If you're ever in danger, he said, show this to any soldier. After he left, the space felt quieter. Back in the village, the pressure increased. The fake mother suddenly announced that Feng Yun should stay home more and stop wandering. Her stepsister followed her everywhere, pretending concern but watching closely. Feng Yun recognized the signs immediately. They were afraid, and fear always led them to cruelty. That night, Feng Yun overheard everything. They found a buyer, her stepsister whispered excitedly. A rich man from the city. If we send her away quickly, no one will connect it to us. The fake mother hesitated. What if something goes wrong? Her stepsister laughed softly. Then she disappears. Either way, I win. Feng Yun stood in the darkness, her face cold. So this was their move. She returned to her room and entered her space. Calmly, she prepared. Medicine to knock someone unconscious. Rope. Evidence. She did not feel anger anymore, only focus.
Before dawn, she acted.
When the buyer arrived secretly, Feng Yun watched from the shadows. She waited until the deal was clear, until money changed hands. Then she struck.
Clean. Silent.
Efficient. By morning, the buyer and the traffickers lay tied outside the police station, alive, broken, and exposed. Documents, money, and witness marks were laid neatly beside them. This time, Feng Yun did not hide completely. From a distance, she watched her stepsister scream as soldiers surrounded the house. Fear had finally reached the ones who deserved it. Feng Yun turned away, her heart steady. This was only the first strike, and she was just getting started. The village woke to chaos. Police cars blocked the road. Soldiers moved in pairs, their faces cold and serious. Neighbors whispered behind doors. By noon, everyone knew. Traffickers had been caught again, and this time, names were spoken out loud. Feng Yun stood quietly in the courtyard as her stepsister screamed. It wasn't me, her sister cried, grabbing the fake mother's arm. I was framed. It was Feng Yun.
She's always sneaking around.
All eyes turned to Feng Yun. She lifted her head calmly. Her face showed no fear, no panic. If it was me, she said evenly, then where is your proof? The soldiers searched the house. They found hidden money, letters, a list of names, clear evidence of selling people. Every item pointed back to the stepsister and the fake mother. The fake mother collapsed to the ground. Her stepsister went pale. When they were taken away, she turned back once, her eyes full of hatred. Feng Yun met her gaze, without blinking. This time, there would be no escape. Later that day, a senior officer arrived with the soldiers. He questioned villagers carefully. When he reached Feng Yun, his eyes paused. You treated injuries before, he said slowly. You helped villagers. Yes, Feng Yun replied. Where did you learn medicine? She met his gaze calmly. By surviving. The officer said nothing more, but his eyes lingered. Something about this girl felt wrong, not weak, not ordinary. That night, Feng Yun entered her space and sat beside the spring. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel tired. But her mind stayed sharp. She remembered what she had seen after death, a newspaper, a photo of a high-ranking officer holding a baby stolen years ago. She hadn't understood then. Now she did. Her stepsister hadn't guessed. She had known. Because no real daughter was treated the way Feng Yun had been. Somewhere out there, her real family was looking for her. And soon, they would find her. News of the trafficking case reached Lu Chen's unit the same day. When he read the report, his fingers tightened around the paper. The timing, the method, the clean execution. He knew it instantly. It was her, he said quietly. His commander raised an eyebrow. You're certain? Lu Chen nodded. No ordinary villager could do this. That afternoon, Lu Chen returned with the unit, this time openly. Meanwhile, trouble found Feng Yun again. An old man collapsed near the village entrance, clutching his chest. People gathered, shouting in panic, unsure what to do. Feng Yun moved forward without hesitation. "Give him space," she said calmly. She checked the man's pulse, his breathing, then quickly prepared medicine from her pouch. She pressed herbs under his tongue and guided his breathing. Slowly, the old man's color returned. When Lu Chen arrived and saw the scene, his step stopped. "That's my grandfather," he said hoarsely. The old man opened his eyes and grabbed Feng Yun's hand weakly. "This girl saved me." Lu Chen's chest tightened. Gratitude, relief, and something deeper stirred inside him. Later, as soldiers secured the area, Lu Chen approached Feng Yun quietly. "You keep saving people," he said. "But no one is protecting you." She looked at him calmly. "I don't need protection." "I know," he replied. "That's what scares me." For the first time, Feng Yun allowed a faint smile. Not soft, not weak, but real. That evening, Lu Chen stayed. He began reviewing old files, missing children, trafficking routes, dates. One file caught his eye. A baby stolen years ago. A high-ranking officer's only child. The age matched. Lu Chen looked toward Feng Yun's room, his expression dark. If his guess was right, then Feng Yun was standing in the middle of a storm she didn't even know was coming. Lu Chen stayed in the village openly now. No one dared to look down on Feng Yun anymore. Soldiers passed by the house daily. Their presence alone made people whisper. For the first time in her life, Feng Yun felt the world shift slightly in her favor. Lu Chen's grandfather insisted on seeing her again. When Feng Yun arrived, the old man smiled warmly. "Sit," he said kindly. "You saved this old life. That makes you family." Feng Yun froze for a brief moment at the word.
Family.
She lowered her eyes. "I only did what I should." The old man shook his head. "A good heart is not common." He studied her face carefully, the shape of her brows, her calm eyes. Something tugged at his memory, but he did not say it aloud. Lu Chen watched quietly from the side. Later that day, the interrogation began. The stepsister sat across from the officers, her face pale and stiff. At first, she denied everything. Then the evidence was placed in front of her, money trails, witness statements, letters in her handwriting. Her mask cracked. "She was never my real sister," she screamed suddenly. "She didn't belong to us. She was picked up from outside as a child." The room fell silent. The officer leaned forward. "Explain clearly." The stepsister laughed hysterically. "She was trafficked. I knew it. No real daughter is treated like that. I saw a newspaper once, a missing child, daughter of an officer. She looked just like Feng Yun." Outside the room, Lu Chen's fists clenched. So it was true. That night, Feng Yun sat alone beside the spring in her space. Her reflection trembled in the water. She remembered the beatings, the cold looks, the way she had always been different. So that was why. She did not cry. Instead, she stood up straighter. If she truly was the missing child, then this was not the end of her suffering. It was the beginning of her reckoning. And this time, she would walk forward on her own terms. The interrogation room stayed silent for a long time after the stepsister's words. The senior officer finally stood up. "Verify the old case," he ordered calmly. "Contact the family." That night, a call was made to the capital. Feng Yun was informed the next morning. "There is a possibility," the officer said carefully, "that you are the missing daughter of Officer Feng Jian." Feng Yun listened quietly. Her heart did not race. Her hands did not shake. "I don't want guesses," she said calmly. "I want the truth." Lu Chen stood beside her without speaking. His presence was steady, solid. A few days later, a black car entered the village. A man stepped out, tall and straight, his hair already touched with gray. His eyes were sharp from years of command, but when they fell on Feng Yun, they trembled. Officer Feng Jian. He walked toward her slowly, as if afraid she would disappear. Yunner, his voice cracked. Feng Yun looked at him closely. The face from her memories after death. The newspaper photo. The familiar feeling she could never explain. I won't call you father yet, she said clearly. I was taken.
Sold. Beaten.
I died once. Before anything else, I want answers. The man froze, then bowed deeply. I failed you, he said hoarsely. I searched for you everywhere. I never stopped. The village watched in shock. That night, Feng Yun sat with Lu Chun under the quiet sky. You could have cried, Lu Chun said softly. She shook her head. Tears won't fix the past. Lu Chun nodded. Then walk the future properly. You won't walk it alone. For the first time, Feng Yun believed those words. Not because she needed support, but because she had chosen it. The results arrived 3 days later. The report was placed on the table, sealed and stamped. Paternity confirmed, the officer said clearly. 99.9% match. The room went silent. Officer Feng Jian closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them again, his eyes were red, but his back remained straight. My daughter, he said firmly. You are my only child. Feng Yun read the report once. Then she placed it down calmly. I accept the result, she said. But I don't forget the past. Outside the room, her stepsister heard everything. Her face turned white. No, she muttered. That should have been me. She rushed forward, grabbing Officer Feng Jian's sleeve. Uncle, I can be your daughter too. I suffered. I deserve it. The officer pulled his arm back sharply. You knew she was abused, he said coldly. You knew she was trafficked. And you wanted her dead. The stepsister collapsed to the floor, screaming. It wasn't my fault. If she lived, how could I take her place? The words echoed like a confession. She was arrested on the spot. That evening, Feng Yun stood at the village gate with a single bag. She did not look back. The house where she was beaten. The room where she burned with fever. The family that sold her. All of it stayed behind. Officer Feng Jian stood beside her. Come home, he said softly. This time, no one will abandon you. Feng Yun stepped into the car. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, she was not running away. She was leaving by choice. The capital felt very different from the village. The streets were wide. The houses were clean. People spoke with respect instead of whispers. Feng Yun stepped into the Feng family home carefully, as if afraid everything might break. But nothing did. Her father prepared a room for her himself.
Soft bedding.
Warm light. A window facing the garden. This room is yours, Officer Feng Jian said gently. No one will touch it without your permission. That night, Feng Yun slept without fear for the first time in 2 lives. In the following days, she noticed small things. Her father waited for her to eat before touching his food. He asked if the water was too hot. He listened when she spoke. These things confused her more than cruelty ever had. Some days later, the courtroom was tense. Feng Yun sat tall, her gaze calm, her fingers folded neatly on her lap. Her father's eyes never left her, proud and protective. The judge cleared his throat. After reviewing the evidence and testimonies, the court finds Feng Xiao and Li Hua guilty of human trafficking, child endangerment, and attempted murder. Gasps echoed through the room. Feng Xiao, the woman who claimed to be her mother, is sentenced to life imprisonment. Li Hua, the stepsister, is sentenced to 20 years in prison with no possibility of parole. Feng Yun did not smile. She felt a quiet satisfaction. Justice had been served. Outside the courthouse, the air was warm, the sky bright. Her father stepped forward. This chapter is closed, he said gently. From now on, you are truly safe. Feng Yun nodded, her thoughts briefly drifting to the past. The fear, the pain, the souled marriage, all behind her. Lu Chun arrived silently. His black coat caught the sunlight. He walked beside her, just a pace away. His hand brushed hers, not by accident. The tension between them was electric, almost unbearable. You've changed, he said quietly, his cold eyes dark and intense. Stronger than I imagined. Feng Yun turned to him, her lips curving into a small, daring smile. I learned from the best, she teased lightly. He didn't smile back. His gaze pinned her in place, sharp and demanding. Don't tempt me, he said lowly. The air between them seemed to hum. Her heart raced. She had survived abuse, betrayal, and death. She had mastered her space, learned medicine, and faced traffickers. And yet, his presence made her pulse quicken like nothing else had. She leaned slightly toward him, just a fraction closer. He caught the movement in an instant. His hand brushed hers deliberately this time. Not a touch, but a promise. Feng Yun, he whispered, voice low, magnetic. You belong here. With me. She tilted her chin, eyes locked on his. Do you think I'd let anyone control me? He didn't answer with words. Instead, his lips brushed her hair, a fleeting, intense gesture that made the warmth between them crackle. The world narrowed to them. Cold control, hot desire, silent understanding. And Feng Yun? She closed her eyes just for a second, allowing herself to feel it. Not weakness. Not dependence. Power shared, intensity felt, and a bond neither could deny. Justice had been served. The past defeated. And in the glow of the afternoon sun, two hearts collided, fierce, unrelenting, and unforgettable. The morning sunlight filtered through the curtains, soft and warm. Feng Yun walked through the streets of the capital, checking on her neighbors and acquaintances. Her life had changed. She had a family who cared, safety, and the quiet confidence that came from knowing she was in control of her own destiny. A hurried knock on a neighbor's door caught her attention. Feng Yun stepped inside and saw a young woman clutching her belly, pale and sweating. Feng Yun, something's wrong. The baby? I think it's in danger. Her heart steadied. She had faced worse, survived worse, and now she had the knowledge, skill, and clarity to act. We need to get you to the hospital immediately, she said firmly, helping the woman to her feet. The streets blurred past as she guided the young woman through the narrow lanes, her hands steady, her mind sharp. The woman whimpered softly, fear etched on her face. Don't worry. You'll be fine. I won't let anything happen to you, Feng Yun said calmly, reassuring her with every step. Arriving at the hospital, chaos greeted them. Monitors beeped frantically, and the attending doctors froze. It's too risky, one said, stepping back. We can't operate without senior staff, they're not available. Feng Yun's gaze sharpened. Then I will do it. There was no hesitation in her voice, only decisiveness. She directed the staff calmly, checking vitals, preparing the tools, and positioning the mother. Every motion was precise, every decision deliberate. Minutes passed like hours. Sweat dotted her brow, but her hands never wavered. Finally, with a careful motion, the baby emerged, healthy and crying. The mother's face lit with relief and gratitude, tears streaking her cheeks. Word of her skills spread quickly through hospital channels. Military doctors, always seeking talented hands, requested a meeting. They saw her courage, decisiveness, and unmatched skill. Lu Qin received the news later, reviewing the report quietly. His dark eyes narrowed with approval. The admiration in his gaze burned hotter than any words could convey. The next afternoon, Feng Yun returned to the hospital to submit a follow-up report. She had just stepped out of the office when she saw Lu Qin standing near the corridor window. He was in plain clothes today, calm and composed, hands in his pockets. They exchanged a brief nod. Busy, he asked. Yes, Feng Yun replied. But the situation is stable now. I heard, he said simply. They stood side by side, not too close, not too far. People passed by, nurses and patients moving around them. The senior doctors reviewed your decision, Lu Qin continued. They agreed with it. Feng Yun was not surprised. They would. His lips curved slightly. He turned to look at her. His gaze was deep, steady, and warm. I like that about you, he said. There was no confession. No dramatic words. But the air between them shifted. Before leaving, he said one last thing quietly. Whatever path you choose next, you won't walk it alone. She met his eyes. I know. They parted naturally.
No promises spoken.
Yet both understood. This was not a passing feeling. After the hospital incident, life did not suddenly slow down. Feng Yun continued her days as usual. She escorted patients, reviewed cases, and occasionally assisted in emergencies. The military hospital followed up formally. This time, everything was done by the book. She accepted the position calmly. Not because of anyone else. Because it was the road she had chosen. Lu Chun did not interfere. He did not advise. He only respected her decision. Their relationship grew naturally. They met sometimes at the hospital canteen, sometimes during family meals.
No secrecy. No rash intimacy.
But the bond between them deepened. They talked late into the evening, about work, about life, about the future. There was warmth, trust, quiet understanding. One evening, Lu Qin visited her home with his family. He stood straight and spoke clearly. I wish to marry Feng Yun. There was no dramatic speech. Just certainty. Her father looked at Feng Yun. She nodded. That was enough. The engagement was simple and dignified. Lu Chen's family welcomed her without reservation. His grandfather smiled every time he saw her and often said, "This girl has steady hands and a steady heart." The wedding was held soon after. Clear skies. Soft wind. Feng Yun wore red, her posture straight, her eyes calm. When she walked toward Lu Chen, there was no hesitation. This time, she was walking by choice. They bowed together. Husband and wife. That night, there was no fear, no shadow of the past. Lu Chen held her gently, his voice low and sincere. "You're free," he said, "even after marriage." Feng Yin smiled and leaned into him. "I know. Marriage did not change her. It supported her. She continued working as a military doctor. She saved lives. She came home to warmth and peace. The past remained buried. The widower was dead. The fake mother and sister had paid the price. And Feng Yin never looked back. In her first life, she died without knowing the truth. In this life, she lived knowing exactly who she was. Strong, independent,
Loved.
and finally, at peace. The end.